So we are back today at the conversion hive where I've been working to move bees from Langstroth frames that came out of a nucleus colony onto Layens frames. And so far it's been going fairly well as far as the bees building out the Layens comb. The one thing we've been struggling with is trying to get the bees to move the honey resources from the Langstroth frames onto the Layens frames. That hasn't gone so well. I've had to change plans a couple times, but in the meantime, it's been 2.5 weeks now since the last inspection of the Layens frames of this colony, and we're going to see how they're building out now. At last inspection, they were on their second brood frame and starting to build out the third, so I'm hoping now that they're on that third frame. They have a total of 5 Layens frames in there. I'm hoping they get those all built out before winter and prepared for winter in order to organize their winter cluster on those frames. Got high hopes for what we're going to see in here. Let's get into it. Before we open up the hive, I would appreciate if you'd do me a favor, and if you enjoy these beekeeping videos, if you find things interesting in these, I would appreciate if you would make like a bee and sting that like button. And that'll let me know that to enjoy the videos. And while you're in the neighborhood of the like button, go ahead and click on that subscribe button, and that way you won't miss any future videos. So let's get into the hive and see how the bees are doing. Okay, well this is interesting. I've got some dead bees right up here on the top of these cover boards. Not really sure why. And as I think about it, last time when I opened up this hive, I also found some dead bees up here. And I'm wondering if they get up here on top of the cover boards and have trouble finding their way back in through the one gap we have down into the hives, and they just get lost up here. So that's a little depressing, a little sad to find. May mean I need to leave an additional gap here maybe to let the bees get back in to the colony. For those who have seen the previous videos, you know that our Langstroth frames are over here in a section where I have an adapter to make the hive just the depth of a single deep Langstroth box. And so the Langstroth frames are over here. Those are the original frames that the bees had in the nucleus colony, came with their original honey resources, pollen, and brood. We have Layens frames over here. I have adapters on each side to make the hive narrower for the Layens frames, and the hive itself is deep enough for the depth of the Layens frames. And if you're not sure the difference between the Langstroth and Layens frames, I posted a video a while back telling about the differences between those. So I'll put a link up here at the top, and I invite you to go check that video out to see the differences and why people would choose to use one over the other. So we're going to open up the Layens section. We may take a peek and see how they're doing as far as getting the honey off of the Langstroth, but I've created another video about the work to try to get the bees to move their honey. So that's not our point today. I just mainly want to see how well the bees are filling out the Layens frames. See if they're expanding their brood through the Layens, and see if they're starting to store any honey there. One thing I didn't mention, between the Langstroth and the Layens, I do have a queen excluder. When we put the bees in here, we shook them all out in this end over towards, so they could get to the Layens frames and start working on those. The queen, I should say, cannot get back to the Langstroth frames. So, and we know that that was successful because she's been laying on the Layens frames. So let's see how they're doing. I still have my feeder in here, which is empty now, so I'll go ahead and pull that out. They probably empty this feeder, well, in a matter of a few hours actually. This is a frame feeder, and I put these little boards, cut these little boards to set on top. They float on top of the nectar. There's 3 compartments in here. Put those on there to try to help the bees not to drown in the nectar. And it seems to work to some degree. I still end up with a few casualties. So this very last frame, the farthest from what was their original brood chamber, they had started building out on that pretty early, and they still have a little bit built out on it, but otherwise it's mainly just foundation on this frame. Second frame looks like it's about the same story. They haven't really gotten much built out on it yet. Oh, they actually have, just looking for my queen to know if, I want to be fairly careful around her, but they actually have built out pretty good comb on the face of that foundation. Haven't built any depth on it yet. And they haven't started storing anything in it. I'm just going to lay one of these cover boards back over here. I don't want my queen to sneak over the top into the other side. We worked so hard to keep her over here. Alright, so this third frame, just like I was hoping, they have built out brood on here. I see capped brood on here. I see larvae. Trying to get in good light. Not quite seeing whether, can't quite tell if I do see a couple eggs in there. Kind of hard looking against the white comb, but saw a couple bees drop off, just making sure that my queen didn't drop off there somewhere. But they're looking fairly good there. And what's also good here is they have nectar stored up along the top and along the top corners and the very top of this frame. So those are that nectar resource at the top of the frame is what they're going to need to get through winter. So that is a very good sign. On the other side, again, they have some brood in there. I see some larvae. I see eggs. I see quite a few eggs in this one. So that is very good, very nice to see. And my queen very well may be on this frame here. Yeah, just not sure. But anyway, so they're doing a good job on that frame. Let's see what else they got going on. Oh wow, look at this. This is awesome. So we've got, for what they have built out in comb, we have a ton of capped brood on here. And there's some empty cells in there, which they have pollen in. They've got nectar across the top and on the corners. They don't have capped honey, but they're storing up good resources on there. So that's great to see. Bring it around this way. And again, on the other side, lots of capped brood there. We got some nectar resources on the top. Now they're going to need a bigger honey band at the top of that to get through winter, but they will probably start filling that back in once this brood is starts hatching out up there, or starts emerging, I should say. So yeah, they're doing really well there. And finally, we'll check out this first frame. And again, doing good work. They've got a lot of brood, a cap brood around the fringes on here. I'm looking to see if there's more eggs in the middle. Very well could be. Not sure. I'm seeing pollen stored up in here. I'm seeing some larvae in here. And trying to see if I can spot eggs. Not seeing as many eggs in this one, but I do see some larvae in there, so I'm pretty happy about that. So that's really good news out of this hive. I'm going to go ahead and push these back real quick. All right, so contrary to some of my other hives I've looked at lately, which were actually kind of disappointing and disconcerting about the possibility of them getting through winter, these bees are doing a great job in expanding onto those Layens frames. They are storing up some nectar on those frames. I'm sure they still have some honey resources on these Langstroth frames, which I'd love to see them move over, or at least use to help build out that wax. It looks like they're about every 2 weeks they're building out one more frame and filling it with brood. And that's a pretty good thing. It doesn't give a whole lot of time for preparation for winter, so I'm hoping they can expand that out in time to be able to form a good winter cluster and get through winter. We'll just see how that goes. But they are making good progress so far. So we'll keep an eye on them, see how they're growing, and see how they are going into winter. So thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next time.